Baby,
Can you hear me okay?
you know what time it is.
Yes, I can.
It's Studio Johnny Q time. That means it is time to drop your nerd
We're dropping
drawers,
drawers
baby.
right now.
I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm sure it's sexy.
I'm sure it's sexy as well. Thank you for that smoothie. All right. See if we get a change here quickly. Yes. Hail and well met, fellow time travelers. Welcome back to Studio Johnny Q with Randy. We have you on the magic of the interwebs, correct?
Yep. What's up?
And me, Johnny Q. We are going to get right at it. Randy, let me switch to a different camera. I was trying to get our cameras up. We have no M50 today because for some reason the cam link doesn't want to work. It doesn't want to acknowledge a signal from it, and I haven't had time to do a deep dive on it. So,
Interesting.
yeah, because it has a light on it when you power it in. So when I don't have anything plugged in and I plug in the cam link, it shows a light as if it's receiving it like from the computer. And then when you plug in, your camera, in our case, when we're doing our M50, let me see here. So if we were doing our M50 here, and it has this out here, when this is on, there's a bar on the cam link that lights up, and it's just not lighting up.
I don't know that.
That's fine. So I'm not sure. It's making me think it's the Elgato. So I think I have to move it out and reduce some of the variables to try to figure out which is the culprit. So no M50 for the time being. Yesterday, instead, I spent the time working on some video editing. But let me get these cameras. While I did that, I had the cameras kind of changed a bit. And just get those switched. Alrighty. How you doing today, brother?
Okay. How about yourself?
Well, I'm doing good today. I've kind of not been feeling so great the last several days. But,
yeah, me too. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, what you got going on?
Yeah, I've been in I had funk. I had a multi-day funk there, and had let's see here. We don't need quite all that, do we? Sorry, I'm still turning on the lights. Trying to figure out what will play nice here in our scenario.
Yeah, I wonder if it's something in the weather.
Yeah, I may be. Yeah, and then I had like a stomach ache for a couple days, and trying to figure out how much it was related to it, and so I wasn't eating good, which doesn't help any of it, and so yeah, I'm starting to feel better today. But we got this brand new bed, and I haven't had one good night of sleep in it, and it's probably the most gorgeous bed I've ever laid in. I love being in it. It is not the bed. I am 100% no, that it is not the bed. But but yeah, I haven't been able to enjoy it at all. So, and then it's hard. You feeling crappy, and I guess we can start with our mental health minute early. And let me put up our chat topics for the day. 1 second. Oh, little stiffness in the bones. Randy, can you confirm that we are on YouTube? I confirm that we are on Twitter.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
We are active on the YouTubes.
All
right. Ooh. Wait a minute. What did you echo there?
Let me check my microphone.
We're getting echoing on YouTube for some reason.
Okay.
Why are we getting echo on YouTube?
Now I'm taking a look here at the microphones. The desk microphone, the ArtStation microphone is on. Your workstation
I'm listening to Twitch now. Let's see if we're experiencing there as well.
Is muted, so. And then just trying to make sure there isn't anything wonky, say with the desktop audio. Yeah, let me know about that. It's not thinking on that. Okay. Oh, the chat topics. That's our check.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing 1, 2, 3. I'm at the computers. Let's see here. If we do corner right, We can turn our chat topics on. Make sure I've saved the latest version.
What am I hearing? I can't even tell what I'm hearing. What is this? Testing 1, 2, 3 again?
I'm also testing 1, 2, 3 right behind you. Oh. All right, Randy. So while you're troubleshooting that, I will talk through what some of our chat topics are today. The titular moment will be talking about the power of projects, which will integrate deeply into our mental health minute today. We've got a new video edit in progress, so that's really good. Yesterday we did actually, that was the project of which will be the example. So, yep.
I can't understand anything you're saying. You're talking over yourself because there's an echo.
Huh. Maybe I'm coming through the Discord. And so that's making me come through the desktop audio. 1 second. I will. Randy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute myself in Discord. All right. So, Randy, you shouldn't be able to hear me through Discord, but you should be able to hear me through the streams. Let me know if you're getting the echo still, or you may only be getting in part the echo. Does that make any sense?
Oh, hold on a second. And
do you have me open in multiple places? Like, are you hearing me through Discord and through?
Try it now.
All right. So you want me to turn everything back on?
That's what it was. It had opened an additional window in YouTube in the background.
I started to remember we've had that happen before, and I've experienced that as well. So, okay. Let me turn back on in Discord. Okay. You should be able to hear me in Discord now.
Cool.
So, all right.
Sorry about that.
Right now, no, that's all right, man. Hey, I appreciate your vigilance in trying to keep us online, because if you can't hear nothing, then there ain't no worth. The video doesn't mean much if you don't have some accompanying audio. So thank you for that. So let's just go ahead and go through our chat topics. So the power projects is our titular topic for today, and that's going to wrap in really heavily with our mental health minute. And it's talking about that yesterday we did start on a new video. So I'm excited about that. Looking forward to talking to that and even sharing a little piece of it. Our first 50, on our road to our first 50, we are at 28 Twitch followers. So if you want to be part of the first 50, and our dirty little secret is that we're going to love those people just a little bit more. I mean, we're going to love everybody real good, but the first 50 get loved just a little bit more. So if you want to be part of that, if you want some of that extra special loving, you know what to do. We have D&D to talk about. One of the random topics I have down here is intolerance in history. And we got movie night to talk about, D&D this week. We've got Rocket League to talk about. So, and there was a comment that Tater had made about Rocket League, but we'll wait to see if he's able to join us. So, and then also we are working heavily here on these tiles. And so this is our craft that I will be working on while me and Randy chat it up. So, Randy, let me know when you are able to converse, my friend. And again, welcome to anybody that's hopping in. Appreciate your time and attention. All right. Here we are.
All right.
All right.
Ready?
So before we get too deep in topics, why don't we go ahead and Randy, I can just ease in. I'll show you guys some of the stuff that we've been working on. I'm pretty pleased with actually the progress of this. So I've done lots of stone tiles. And let's see if I have one of those handy. I'm sure I should. I sure as hell should. And all of my reorganization now, I now need to reorient myself, Randy. We've done a lot of cleanup, and I'm really happy with the progress, but there's a few times where it's like, Well, I used to know where this was under this other clutter. That's no longer exists, so I have no frame of reference. Well, I don't have any stone tiles, but it's very much in the school of BMCs. Here, you can probably see one up here. So tiles like these. This is learning this from watching Black Magic Craft videos. So these were some of the first tiles I've made, and I've made several sets of these. A fun little thing here.
Very nice, very nice.
Black Magic Craft, he says that a pet peeve of his is when you have stones like this, and this was my first one, and I was like, there was things I didn't like about them. I was like, these don't look quite right. And he says the cracks, when you have stone, that cracks go all the way through, because you don't get small splintering cracks in stone, that when it breaks, it cleaves. So it breaks all the way. So this line needs to connect somewhere else. And when you do it, it does look much more accurate to the eye. But kind of funny, in his early days, that he on his Black Magic group, he had a fun post about it. How it was a pet peeve of his. And how you can't, and it's a thing that once you see it and you know it, you can't unsee it. But so we made a ton of those. And what we haven't made, and also seen this from watching Black Magic Craft and DM Scotty, that how to make, tiles that look like wood floors using the same sort of process. So our material for the stone tiles we used is XPS foam, which is like pink insulation foam here in our state. Some places it's blue. I think it may even be yellow, but I think that's a slightly different version. That they
I guess
use.
there's a big difference between United States and Europe on that.
Yeah. And just United States and different places, and just even places within the United States where insulation isn't used as often in the house. It's like I couldn't even imagine that. It was like, what? Why would you not have insulation in your house? But there are some climates that are well suited enough that it is not so much of an issue, especially on the coasts. Some places on the coasts. But anyway, so this is using just dollar store foam, and I believe it's Dollar Tree that has this brand of foam, and it has paper on it. That's that craft board that you buy in, like, I think it's 2x3 sheets or something along those size, and it has paper on it. The Dollar Tree stuff has the paper that you can peel back, and that leaves the foam exposed to where you can make indentations with it with pins, drawing pins, or knives really easy, and texture it with things like a tin foil ball, which we always have a tin foil ball handy. DM Scotty had a post the other day about, he's like, everybody says, and this is where you use your tin foil ball, and he's like, no, this is where you use a brick. I'm like, okay, I'm down with that. But so we kept the paper on one side, and we decided that we wanted to double side these, and so we used popsicle sticks on this one, and on this one we used kind of like the tongue depressor. And nice. Instead of and just to try to get some data to see if there's one we like more than the other, and because we could use these for walls and all kinds of different things, docks, things like that. So we got them, they're double-sided. It adds to the functionality. And then we did our normal method on these sides, which were with this we use Black Magic Craft's prescribed Mod Podge and paint, and you use that for a base coat, and it seals foam really, really well. So after you put all your texture and everything into it, you seal it up with that, and then you do your normal dry brushing and ink washes. And so it was just a combination of that until we had something that we want. And then we used washes, a combination of washes here, and ended up, one thing I thought helped bring out some of the color was actually using a rust wash. So that was orange, and it helped bring out some tones that I wanted. But then after that, these even got dry brushed really lightly. That helps, and you can kind of see it more on this one. Kind of helps give it this weathered, aged feel that I'm very happy with. So yeah, there wasn't anything we just did other than washes on these. And let's see here.
It's sexy.
Sassy. It's damn sassy. So with these in particular, I had a sheet of these, and we scored it down into this. So yeah, it's Ready Board, Ready Foam Board as the brand. And I thought I was going to do like 5x5s or something like that, or maybe do a set of 5x5s and some other ones. But I decided, I think these are 10 inches, yeah. So I decided to do some 5x10s, just long ones, because it just makes sense, I think, for rooms. And also, if I'm going to do, I think our next big project that we're going to do is making a boat. And so I thought these could do a good job of representing the decks underneath. But we have all these other blanks for us to do more form tiles. So that's the craft that we'll be working on. Reviewed what we did. This is kind of our pieces to base everything else off. But I'll be cutting some of this stuff down. All right, moving along, Randy. If we look back here, let's see. So if we look back at our chat topics, so the power of projects is our titular. And I did want to review something when we were talking about the mental health minute. And I was saying, you have a right to exist. And you had some counterpoints that I thought were on point. And made me want to maybe redefine that thought. And one, it was just like, basically, I guess I'm thinking about it in terms of obligations. And it's like you're obligated to yourself. But you're obligated to yourself as long as, you're not hurting somebody else. And you're not a drain on somebody else. If you're not being a burden on somebody else and you're not hurting somebody else, then that's when I'm saying that, your obligation is to yourself. And, you could say your obligation to yourself could end up justifying, serial killing or something like that. And that's not what I'm trying to do. It's a more holistic view that I'm trying to capture that I think the sentiment wasn't capturing at the time. So I appreciated your comments and wanted to know that you made me think about it and further refine my idea. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to say to that.
Yeah, and my leaning was not toward do anything you want and go kill people. It was the you add in other elements like if you have kids, if you choose to have children and things like that, then the argument becomes a little different.
Yeah,
but,
and
in the basic concept, if you define it down further and be like, if you're in a stressed situation and you're worried about like, oh God, I can't bear because of all this crap, and I feel like I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to. Probably you don't. Most of that. Most of what you're stressing about, you could probably examine that and approach it from a different way and still meet your basic obligations to keeping your family healthy and things like that, keeping yourself and your family healthy. Yeah. Without saying like, oh, I have to be in this miserable job because I got to pay the bills. Well, you could try to switch jobs.
Yeah.
You don't have to be living in a multi-million-dollar home. You can downsize and still meet the basic goals without having to be as flashy. Things you can take steps to minimize a lot of that stress and pare down your obligations into the basics of what are real obligations as opposed to all the perceived obligations.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to discuss it. And we were talking last time too about civil obligations, right? And what does that mean? And like, what does that mean for somebody who lives outside of, lives off the grid, so to speak? But but I guess it made me think of that sentence is more inclusive than it sounds. My sentiment was more inclusive, I guess, than the statement potentially might indicate, and that's the thing that I was trying to.
Yeah, I gotcha.
See here. No, and I just appreciate it. There was another conversation that we had where you thought, I think it was about when we were talking about. I further have refined the concept now down to don't hate, create. But when we were talking about creating versus criticism, that whole thing, I think that the sentiment that I've reduced it down to is basically don't hate, create. So, and it's like, don't spend your time throwing shade. That's not really providing much value. Make something. that's where you can provide real value. All right, so just trying to pull some of these up. Let me pull this down just a little bit, I think. There we are. So yeah, we were talking about funks, right? And not the good funk. We're not talking about the P funk. We're not talking about the Q funk, which is closely related to the P funk. It's just one letter off.
That's it.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. There's a song by the late Chris Cornell, says "Fell on Black Days," and that's what it feels like sometimes. I'm just like, all right, I've just fallen on some black days, and you try to realize this is going to pass, and you just try to handle it, but then you throw something on, like you have Father's Day, right? And it's like, all right, you got to go be with people, and you don't feel good. My dad makes he grills these really good steaks, and I got a stomach ache, and you're just like, oh, and trying to plow through it. But so yesterday I was, I was listening to some Russell Brand stuff, right? I've been into some of this hippy dippy esoteric stuff lately, and at least watching it on YouTube, it's kind of the rabbit holes that are being offered to me through YouTube, right? Because I guess there is not you don't really drive those rabbit holes. You feel like you are, but it just offers you tunnel choices, and you figure out which tunnel you want to go down, I guess, down the rabbit hole. But so I've been watching some Russell Brand and some of the topics that he was talking about with anxiety, and we're very pro. If you having issues, talk to a professional and get their advice. Do your own fact finding and seek out a professional. But you and I both have received substantial benefit through better living through pharmacology, and so we endorse that. But he was talking about the counterpoint of that is that a lot of times that anxiety also has a core right to it, and if you deaden yourself to that, then you might be you might keep stepping on the nail, and you're just numbing your foot to the pain of it. And so I've been, as I was examining some of that stuff and trying to figure out what some of the triggers were for some of my stuff, and it's like I want to be achieving more, I think, is kind of the result of it. That I'm not as happy of what I've achieved, and not just results, but even effort, although I am really proud of the effort and all the things that we've done here in the studio. But just want to do more. And so yesterday, that's when I wanted to focus on videos. Really want to try to get committed to putting that into one of our product offerings, I guess, and to strengthen our brand. So yesterday I was working on it, and I wasn't having a great day, but I was reminded of the power of projects when you're in a funk. And I think it was another meditative thing. And it was talking about, and this may have even been Alan Watts. Been listening to some more Alan Watts, and he was talking about, I think it was him, talking about that what you need to do is, it's the things that we've talked about before about, just all you got to do is put that next step forward. You just have to take the next step, and I think that's the language that he was using. It's like we get so overwhelmed about all the steps, and you just gotta focus on that next step. And I find that, when I'm in a funk, that having a project to work on, maybe it's cleaning out a closet, or, organizing a space. Organizing is really good for me, or, maybe getting caught up on bills, or, something like that. Cleaning out your garage. These are some of the things. I know there's probably, I don't know, maybe it's working on your garden, or putting up, a piece of something new, or, but having something like that to where you can focus your mind, keep yourself out of your negative headspace, and giving you something to focus on, and something that can help you feel more positive at the end of it. It's just I've found a lot of value in that. I wonder if you have any comments.
Definitely. You always need something that you can fall back to and center yourself on. And
yeah, and I think that that's one of the things, I guess, made me think about it as a talking point, is that I think that I like that. I never really thought about it as it helps you just kind of see that next step, that you can kind of just, you can take a problem that you have in front of you and you can kind of just piecemeal it, and you just do that. You just kind of take it all and just kind of evaluate it and just take it one piece at a time, and then by the end of the day or the end of the time that you've allotted to your project, you know, you can see some substantial results. And that's always helped me, even if it's just buying time until your body kind of gets back into its normal, more healthy mental state. Even just if it's that, I think, which I think it's more than that, but even just that benefit alone, I think, is strong.
There's the whole like fake it till you make it thing, which does definitely have its place and is a real thing, but there's also like, don't just fake it till you make it. Find something else
you can
that makes you happy, and you know, even if it's just small little things that make you feel like you're making some sort of progress, that those are positive gains, and they can add up and get your momentum going in a way.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people, you know, talk about giving, right? There's, I think, a lot of Eastern philosophies that talk about the value of giving, and I know, so that's also a good source for people. If you can find something to do, you know, donate your time, or, you know, you're always good about giving blood, you know, and things like that. Those things can be very strong. I tend to be too misanthropic for that, but don't want to discount that either.
I need to check that. They should have. It seems like it should have been enough time that I could donate again, but because I gave a double red last time, but not that. Normally I get notifications. I'll have to double check, see if I'm missing them.
Yep. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out. Well, hold on here. I'm doing math, and it's scaring me. So.
And you'd mentioned, I can't remember, were you talking about Alan Watts or somebody else? You mentioned Russell Brand at some point. Were you talking about the deadening of stuff and like taking?
That was Russell Brand.
Okay.
That was Russell Brand who mentioned that.
That goes back and touches the things I've mentioned before about just taking medication. You don't just take the medication. The medication isn't the end-all solution. It's part of the solution, and more of a helping hand in a lot of, perhaps most cases, where it's designed to help you get to a point where you can deal with stuff. And then once you're at that point where you can deal with stuff, then you can start working on that stuff and find out what's behind what's making you feel that way or whatever. And how to progress with that. Because if you just take the medication, then and that dulls you, then you don't learn how to deal with like your ramped up anxiety within a social situation or whatever, because the medication is making it so that you don't have to work to do that. So it's important to identify those things that are really the root causes of your problems and try to work on those, and whether that be through exposure therapy or just experiential therapy, get out there and try to get comfortable with those situations so that you don't always perhaps need that medication or don't have to rely on that medication or whatever.
I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah, I think that, I talk about it sometimes as the way I like to look at it is breaking this feedback loop, right? That, how anxiety can breed anxiety. You be anxious about being anxious. And it helps break that feedback loop and lets you be able to try to address these issues with, a more healthier brain. And because it's hard when the thing that is wrong is the tool that you really want to be able to rely on to help you through it. You know, it's like if you needed your arm to help your arm get better, you broke your arm, but you needed that arm to help your arm get better. It's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you need your brain to help your brain get better, but your brain is the thing that's hurting, and it can cause you to. It's like I'm always amazed at how, to me, when I'm in these moments, it just makes everything seem so small. It's like my view of everything becomes so tiny, and I don't know. It's like I have no peripheral vision or something, is the way it feels. But whereas
Plus, it's always good to remember to, like, you get into a spot and you're like, I don't feel like this will ever improve, or you just feel overwhelmed and you don't know how to deal with it. And it's good to remember that, one of the most amazing things about human beings is their adaptability.
Yeah.
So it'll be okay. Like, it'll work out. You'll adapt. If you have to, something has to become your new normal, then that has to become your new normal, and you're capable of that becoming your new normal if that's a positive thing, or just what has to be for whatever reason.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I like about that sentiment about that, fell on black days, is it helps me to think about it. And this isn't implicit, I guess, and why I want to call it out, that it makes me think about that temporal / ephemeral, maybe even, quality to it, right? That whenever I'm in it, it's amazing how it feels like things have broke, and it's always going to be like this forever now. This is it. This is how it is now. And that's not the case. And so when it's like, to me, falling on black days means that you're going to fall out of them too. And it's like weather, right? It's like a blizzard. You just hunker down for the storm. It's going to pass. You do your best to get by and be comfortable through it and safe. And you go from there.
I got your old adages too. Like, there's, always look for the silver lining in the gray clouds. And
yeah, what is it that
the only place to go from here is up, kind of thing.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers' mom would, I think, tell him. I actually saw this where he said this. I can verify this, but do your own fact, regardless. Where he'd say, she told him, in times of trouble, always look for the people that's helping. There's always people that are trying to help. And that is encouraging. You do see that.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what my level of misanthropy is, I cannot deny that you do always see that. And it is encouraging. All right. So this last one, Randy, I've got 5x5, a 5x5. I did these so that I've got whatever weird shapes these are. These are 3x3s, these are 3x4s, and these are roughly 4x4s, but these things aren't exact size, and that doesn't bother me one bit. There's a lot of people where they debate about the way that you do the tiles, because if you think about like a piece of graph paper, Randy, right? And that's, the history. D&D and graph paper are like peanut butter and jelly to me, right? And it's like, I love graph paper and I love D&D, and I'm not sure which one made me love the other. But as you're designing dungeons, right? On the graph paper, like say this is our graph paper here, you would just indicate this is the wall by making this darker, right? You following me on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so if you're putting up pieces though for those walls, then here this piece is now encroaching on this square, right? So if this square is an inch, this can't be an inch if there's a wall in place. And so how do you handle that? And so like some people do, instead of doing inch tiles, they'll do 1.25 inches, and the quarter allows for the space of the walls. So that if you're trying to recreate, and this is where it would really be applicable, if you're trying to recreate something from a piece of graph paper, then that would allow you to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. But I don't have the need for that, because I don't find that any as much as I love the aesthetics of maps drawn on graph paper, I don't think that any of them the nuance of it is like this was this was a 3x4 instead of a 3x3. Nah, it doesn't really. I don't think that impacts any of the games that I'm running in a significant way. Perhaps it could for somebody else. That's, especially if you're running a more turn-based type of game, where the minutia could matter, I suppose, but we don't play that way. And it's like I always try to round in favor of the heroes, and that's often not the rules, which I don't get. Unless you're really intentionally trying to go for punishing, but I always find that you do a favor by rounding up to the. This is a DM hack. I never realized it, Randy. A lot of advice.
Go ahead.
A lot of advice, that I've heard previously is, well, I think the official rules often is that when you roll in D&D 5e, I think that is like if you roll and you split the difference, that it's the creature that gets the advantage out of that. It's usually the player that gets shorted in a happening situation. You don't round up in favor of them, you round down. And there's this issue that can exist very easily, this us versus them sort of scenario that can exist between DMs and players. And if you always round up in favor of a great and easy way to show that you're on their side. Mm-hmm. It just helps promote that you're on their side, So you wanted to say something, though, I think.
I just make some sort of comment. I guess it's how much of a rule humper you are.
A rule humper?
Yeah, rule humper.
That's cool. I don't think I've ever heard that term before.
Yeah, I think I just made it up.
A rule humper. That is awesome. That is... I think
How much do you get off on just following the rules to strict?
Yeah, I wrote in my DM book, it makes me smile every time I see it. It says, I like nerd miniatures, not nerd minutia.
Nice.
And it's just like that, but that's it, right? And that's the I remember listening early on in Days of Nerdist that he would talk about what is a nerd, and he says, I think that nerds or geeks, if you say you're going to geek out on something, it means you're going to obsess on it, and the obsessive quality of nerds is a very key component to it, to being a nerd. And I do get that, but I don't think I try not to be an obsessive nerd, and maybe to an outside person, it was like my knowledge of something like Star Wars or Star Trek may seem obsessive, but it's like amongst nerds, I do not count myself to be the best Star Wars fan, if it comes in terms of trivia or collectibles or any ways that you want to do it, any ways that you want to measure, right? Any of the nerd minutia which you would wish to measure. But
you do get the crazy ones that want to do battle with their swords that they happen to have on their sides about whether +1 to some particular attribute is going to allow them to cast the thing on a certain and get a extra point damage on a. There are those people who get in fights and yelling matches at games about the minutia of stuff like that.
Yeah, and the more common term to rule humper, which I do love, and again, I think I need to add that as a quote to our system, is the rules lawyer. They call it rules lawyering is a common term for it. I remember even that who was it? It was I can't remember. The two guys, Paul and Storm. They had that app where it was things that you could play during D&D games, remember? And it was like, one of them was like insulting the DM, like, the DM sucks, or something like that. And there was something else that they had. Oh, it was about Rules Lawyer, and it was like, tonight on another episode of D&D Rules Lawyer. Or something. It was something like that. Yeah, rules lawyering is real. And if you don't believe me, just go to your local game store on a Saturday about 3, when one of the game stores where people are having matches. You get a rando nerd against a rando nerd. We don't always play well with each other, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think we were in the local nerd shop there once, where they had some gamers in the back, and they were having a verbal altercation over some rule-based stuff, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah,
But I think largely it just determines what kind of game you're running and what the people that you're playing with, what level or what type of game they want to be playing, with like challenge level and stuff like that. You can adapt a bunch of that stuff accordingly, whether somebody's just out there for a bit of adventure or whether they want a bit of a struggle, various things like that.
Sorry, Randy, I wasn't listening to you. I was adding your rule humping quote.
Yeah, just so.
Hoping I remember the command correctly. Okay, so what was it that you were saying? Can you just recap the last 60 seconds, if possible?
Yeah, so it depends largely on what kind of game you're running, who you're running it for. How strict of a rule set, what difficulty level you want, how much of a challenge. Is it more of just a fun, laid-back adventure, or is it something where you've got a bunch of hardcore players who want a lot of challenge and want to stick more to a difficult rule set?
There's I think too, wargaming I think promotes this, right? Because it's PvP, whereas with you get it in D&D when it's player versus DM, but the DM gets to make the rules. So ultimately, that's what the book says. DM's rule is final. And but when you're playing war games where my ability to be better than you centers pretty much strictly around the rules and how I understand these rules and how I use them to my advantage, I think that promotes a lot of rules lawyering. You know what I mean? And it's because it's me against you, and it was like if we had to interpret the rules of chess. My interpretation of the rules of chess are different than your interpretations of the rules of chess. Playing a game of chess probably wouldn't be very gratifying.
Yeah, that'd be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, a game of chess without rules against somebody that's playing. Yeah, that would be a major.
That would be a stumbling block. To a good time. Yeah, so I guess that's why I don't want to play war games, because to me it's like that's what it's like. It's like trying to play chess where you both have an interpretation of the rules and I have an interpretation of the rules, and somewhere between the two the truth exists.
D&D is like that as well, and that they're constantly bickering about rules, what a rule means, and there's been a lot of problems with some of the with the rule books, the language in them being ambiguous, or people going back and say, well, I think it means this, I think it means this, and then eventually somebody will, one of the original creators, I believe, or whoever's in charge now of the D&D, will kind of make a decision about what that was intended to be, sort of thing.
And it's funny too, because now today you can get that information from Twitter, right? You can get official rulings from D&D based on, nope, this is how you should interpret the rules. I've seen that.
Mm-hmm. But then ultimately, like you said, unless you're doing like a league match that has strict rules to follow, and like in a lot of cases, if your character dies, and blah, blah, blah. It is up to the DM how to run their game, as it should be.
As it should be. It has to be. It really does. It really has to be.
It's called Dungeon Master for a reason.
Yeah, that's right.
It's your dungeon. You run it the way you want.
Right. If you want to bail, you can say the safe word, but that means you bail. That means game over. You know how this works. Sorry. All right.
But there's something to be said about DMs and, know your audience. Hopefully you're running a game for the audience as well as yourself. You hear stories about DMs who just get off on wiping the party, killing the whole party, and in some cases it has a lot of negative connotations.
And I don't,
some rule sets and stuff, like you can damage your character permanently or cause permadeath to your character and stuff like that. And there are some DMs who would get off on that kind of thing, and that's not cool.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see the value in that, and that's why when Critical Role can be kind of divisive in the D&D community, but you got to give mad props to Matt Mercer as a DM, and I've really enjoyed being able just to watch him, just to try to learn how to be a better DM or see things that he does that I don't like or things that I would like to do differently. But there's the quote that the two guys they were talking about him. And he's like, man, he's always looking to screw us over. He's like, no, he's trying to give us opportunities to be heroic. And it's just like, that's awesome. That is an awesome way to look at it. But some, I've, seen it, and that, there are some DMs who want to punish their players. And I think there might be even a historical accuracy to that. But I don't think that's the, when I watch D&D, when I watch Critical Role, when I watch, being able to watch some other people, that's not where I see good DMing. It's like a DM. And again, it goes back to this geek obsession that we suffer as nerds, right? That it's really easy. It's like, I designed this puzzle and there's one way for you to solve this puzzle, right? So you have to be clever enough to solve my puzzle. And that's what you don't want. That's bad. That's 101 bad DMing. And there's
potentially that's a hard place, because a lot of times like that can be done. You had puzzles because you're interested in puzzling, you think it'll be fun and it'll be but then if your players end up just beating their heads against the wall and not getting it, it's frustrating for everybody.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, as a DM, you better have a contingency on what happens.
Yeah, you gotta have escape mechanisms built in, some way to like, oh, they're not getting that, I've got to figure out how to do this in a little different way to make them, try to help them down the right path.
It's like, well, guys, I guess you can come back next week and see if you can figure out next week. Nope, you're still sitting in the room, But there's
something else to be said for immersion, level of immersion. So, like,
you do have to know when to say no, right?
Yeah, there's that. So, like, if you take, permanent things or semi-permanent things, drawbacks, negative aspects that can happen to the character, to make it more, to make the experience more immersive, to make it feel like there's actual consequences to your decisions and your actions.
Agreed. Yeah.
And that, so it presents a point for you to care more about your character and what you're doing, and think more about your actions and strategies and that sort of thing. There's certainly an interesting element there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I totally agree. You do need, that's what the DM is for, right? Right. The DM he represents the physics and the rough decision making of the NPCs, right? But the DM's job is to give integrity to the fantasy space. And if it's like, well, today you walk, but tomorrow you fly, then players, that ruins immersion for players, right? Because there's no consistency to the world that you're trying to describe. And so sometimes you do have to say no. I had this experience here recently when we were trying to talk about a cat climbing up a ladder, and if he needed to make a roll to do that or not, And there's you're gonna have to make those types of calls, but you need to make the calls and the thing of, is this something that is going to matter or it's not? And there is a great power in DMing if you can learn to adopt the that philosophy from ad-libbing, I think, right? That they call yes-anding, right? You might be able to describe that better than me. Do you have a good? Can you describe?
That's an aspect of the improv where to keep the flow going, to keep progressing the scene, you always want to try to be in a positive and progressive attitude. So yes, and you don't ever say no to somebody when somebody in an improv scene says something to you, because that causes a stoppage. It breaks the flow. So if you say, okay, I'm going with what you're saying, and I'm going to add something else to it to progress the scene.
Yeah, and give you something to play off of.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. This water sure is cold. Yes, and deep. So I think I like where I have these drawn up, Randy, real quick. So just a review on one side of these. This has got the paper. While I had the paper on, I went ahead and drew in. So we got 2 5x5s. We've got some assorted 3x3s and 4x4bs kind of things. I've got some planks here, some longer planks. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. What was the determination of the cat being able to climb the ladder?
Well, we were talking about what I saw was a large cat who was trying to climb a multi-story ladder, and I did not think that he could do that without a roll. And the player initially thought that. I think that was a somewhat potentially unfair ruling on my part. I mean, it wasn't a big deal, but you could just kind of tell by the reaction. But it's like, no, I'm wondering if I want to make you roll for it. Your cat definitely doesn't get to just do it. Oh, the cat's movement. And the thing is, too, is the way that I see the cats, the pets, or more accurately, the daemons, that there are different terrains that they are well suited for, and there's terrains that they're not well suited for. So, like Shasta's genie can fly, and that gives him certain advantages. Well, a lot of movement advantages, of course, but at the same time, it's harder for him. He can't just directly attack and do some things, so there's limitations to his abilities that way. Whereas the Treon is really good at climbing like stone walls and things like that, and where her cat would be really good in like, jungle outdoor situations, things like that. But climbing a ladder, I'm just trying to imagine my own cat trying to climb a ladder.
I've got a YouTube video for you.
Oh, nice. Awesome. So, and it's just things like
but it should still be a roll, though. I mean, it's an activity. It could pass or fail. It's not like they're guaranteed to succeed at the task. So.
Yeah, and one thing though that I'm trying to absorb from playing with DM Scotty, there's a lot of things that I would make players roll on that he just said, yeah, okay, that's fine. And I think that there's a place for that. I think that maybe the optimal place for me is some middle ground in between there, the way that I'm currently doing it versus, I want to, but there is a thing is like, is this adding anything to it, or is this just making the game longer? Is a question that you kind of have to ask yourself constantly as a DM, I think. Where's the value add to this? Cat climbing a ladder. Thank you. Yeah, I will definitely check that out. Let me grab Randy, they've got some new ginger ale. It's an exciting time to be a fan of ginger ale. I don't know if you know this. Ginger ale right now is going through a renaissance. It's the salad days, if you will, for ginger ale. Yeah, it is really. If you go check out your ginger ale aisle at your local mart, you'll find aisle. Well, your soda aisle. If you go down your soda aisle and you find the little niche that is ginger ale, there's all kinds of new flavors. There's the ginger ale and lemonade I'm a big fan of, but now they have there's a ginger ale bold from, I think, Canada Dry here, and this is in no way this is not sponsored by Canada Dry. I just bring this up just just because of reference of ginger ales, but yeah, actually I won't even bring it on camera. Bold, it's bold ginger ale. And it's got a little nip to it. I'm not going to lie. I didn't realize until I met you how spicy ginger was.
Yeah, I like strong ginger.
And this bold flavor reminds me of we were in San Francisco. There was that little shop that was like a little food deli or kind of like market, or not, I don't know what the term is I'm looking for. Cafe would be better. Sort of like a food cafe, and where they made amazing food. And San Francisco has great food. They made this homemade lemonade, ginger lemonade, and it was spicy. It was spicy lemonade, and it was like, whoa, that was good. It was really good, and that's what this kind of reminds me of, a little bit of like that. So what I want to do here, I think, before I actually cut these into pieces, is add all the planks so that I can make long swipes here with them. Also, it's...
Tater!
Hey, what's up? Yeah, and Tater is now Colonel Mustard on our... He changed his Twitch handle, so... He's Mean Mr. Mustard. Good to see you, my friend. So we are doing floor tiles. We reviewed our previous ones. We're liking those, so now we're going to be doing some different shapes. Yeah, man. and we are working on everything. Still has the paper, and we'll be adding the plank lines. We have been reviewing our text of the moment is the power of projects and mental health. So we've been talking about do they pass muster? Yeah, so we'll show you here. We will the back sides of these, I think, in particular look good. And the back side. This came out really nice. That's what these look like. So we're going to be doing our plank lines here. I need to figure out the grain. One of the things is I think I did these wrong with the grain, and so I would have been better if I would have done them, I think, this way. The lines in between the boards I don't think would have been as jagged, which I'm okay for some. Let's see what it looks like. It kind of gives them a worn, ragged look, but I think it might. I think also it would work better with the. It was giving me problems, I think, when I was trying to add the grain using the wire brush. I think we'll get better grain from the wire brush if we can figure out the grain of this foam, which I think it does have a grain, if I'm not incorrect. Do your own fact find. Okay. As always. So, taking a look back at our chat topics. So, yeah, talking about the power of projects and its ability to help you plow through things, and the importance of putting one foot forward. Randy, one of the topics that I also wanted to talk about is intolerance and history, and the power of finding an analog. I think this is a concept that I've become aware of that term. I don't know, maybe more in the last 10 years. Probably maybe even through Mythbusters, maybe, where I got familiar with the term analog, right? And it's finding something that can be used similarly for the purposes of gleaning information. So, like, if they were going to be trying to see if something would be bulletproof, what do they use to determine if, the thing died? And so a lot of times they would use Buster as an analog, but a lot of times they would use, they say that pig carcasses make for very good analogs for the human body. And so when we look at things like intolerance, and some of these things, I try to see what's a good analog for it. And I really appreciate, but another thing beyond analog, I guess, is just looking bigger than looking for something that can help you see it outside of just the pushes and the pulls of the current scenario that you're in, your own biases, the zeitgeists, the spirit of the times, all of that. And it's like when you look historically, history is never on the side of intolerance, right? And it's like you just see people with angry signs, whether it's, we could take an example of, say, the God Hates Fags, people with the protesting. Mm-hmm. And it's like you look at those and you see these are the same people that, you see the photos of people that were preaching against mixed marriages and things like that, or you see people that were trying to prevent any women or minorities from, the ability to vote. And it's just like, you look at them and you're like, what a bunch of knuckleheads, right? We look at these people and like, God, you are so small. And so if you want a leg up on how to respond, you could probably take a look at history and see how history has viewed people who are intolerant, and generally historically. And I guess they say history is written by the victors, but this is a place where I think that there's probably some real value to be gleaned from it. That's right. First Comfest.
That's one thing where you're like, okay, so
I forgot about that. When I remember I took me and Mr. Mustard to his first Comfest, and at the same time it was the Gay Pride Parade. And so where we parked, we actually had to cross the parade. And I remember I said, you marched in the Gay Pride Parade. And I forgot that there were some anti people there. Yeah, and it's just like, it's tough, man. Extremism is just seems like it's just a, such a woeful attempt to try to deal with that hole within yourself. Yeah, that was a good day. I remember I promised him that he would see at least one boob, and I think unfortunately that's all he got to see was one boob. Usually there's
Was it the third boob?
what that's
It was somebody that was
had a superfluous nipple or something.
somebody that was cosplaying as
Oh,
the three boobed woman from
Total Recall.
Yeah, Total Recall.
That's nice. That's awesome. Yeah, there's also that great parade that they have. um, it wasn't worth remembering, as I recall. I just remember that you did because he was a young kid at the time. He was a younger person at the time, younger man than he is now. That's funny. They also have the what is the other parade that they have in the short north? Is it the Doodah? Is it the Doodah parade? Randy?
Yeah, I think so.
That is pretty crazy. That's worth checking out. Yeah, I think you were 18. That was a while ago. We have to get in the Wayback Machine for that.
Time she does a fly.
Yeah, and that's one of the things when I speaking about analogs, and I'm actually, Randy, going to go over to the other computer. I want to show you something. Well, I'll sit here for a second before we do that.
Easy definition for analog in the sense that you're using it as a person or object that is seen as comparable to another.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like one of the things that when I look at like things like discrimination and things like that, I use hair color as an analog for it and see the way people behave in those types of scenarios because it's not a hotbed. Hair color doesn't tend to be a hotbed, but gingers don't have souls. Blondes are stupid.
Well, that's just a fact.
Yeah, some of this is science. Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Do your own fact finding.
Do your own fact finding. Yeah, I can say because I am one. But yeah, gingers, we don't have souls, and there's lots of things. Beaten like a redheaded stepchild, right? Having a blonde moment. This is just the way that we do things, right? But you can, I without getting into it, it's like I personally have gotten a lot of value at examining things by just trying to find analogs for the situations and being able to examine it, and it helps me immensely to try to find some order in the chaos. But I wanted to show you.
We had mentioned something.
Yeah,
one second.
please.
Sorry. I just remembered something. We mentioned something previously when we were talking about religion and stuff, and how most religion tries to control things by saying, okay, this is how we want you to behave this way, and if you behave this way, then you get rewarded by going into heaven. If you don't follow these rules, if you behave in these ways which we deem bad, then you are going to be punished by going to hell. So you have that hope of reward and the fear of punishment. But then you have Calvinism. Are you familiar with Calvinism at all?
Yeah, I love Calvin. Calvin and Hobbes?
Yeah.
He's my favorite. So Calvin...
Not Calvin and Hobbes.
but you're talking about his namesake is who you're talking about, actually. Because Calvin and Hobbes... Yeah, Calvin and Hobbes were named after the philosophers, so I believe, and their personalities are roughly determined by them. Where one of them was deterministic, and the other had a different philosophy. So whenever they were actually having these conversations in the woods, it was actually a philosophical debate about determinism and something else, I think.
Nice. I may have the wrong term here. This is just from a vague memory from reading, like, I think it was Jane Eyre. Okay. Jane Eyre or a similar novel, like in school. And I think when she's a child, she's in the, like she was abandoned, so she was an orphan or something. And so she was given into the care of of this church, I guess, orphanage, whatever that was, I think Calvinism, Calvinism, whatever.
Yeah.
And that the way it was presented there was that everybody was born a sinner. They all had, original sin and were damned. And it was almost presented the fact that you were damned regardless. But redheaded children were basically seen as of the devil.
Yeah,
Like there was nothing you could do. Like you're just seen as the ultimate low, the ultimate damned child. Now, again, please do your own fact finding here, because this is the vaguest of vague memories about to piece that together.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's like, this is how it works, right? There is no knowledge without prejudice. Because there is no knowledge, right? You don't know things. You can't prove something. You can only disprove it, they say, right? So
Yeah.
all that you have are just beliefs, but you think you have truth.
Yeah.
You've been told that you can have truth, but truth isn't something that you can actually have. You can just really have strong beliefs about things. But when you
see that, like, the truth of the moment, like the half-life of truths, and the inevitability of what's true now will be proved incorrect a couple years down the line and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But science is like, truth is not, there's no like hard fact. It's what we believe to be the case at the moment based on what we've been able to replicate, kind of thing. And they're constantly trying to disprove it.
Yeah. So let me, Randy, I'm going to share with you here in the background. This is what I did was when I took apart the board, when I did the recap and I took apart the board, this is it reversed high speed. So it looks like me putting together the board. Does that make sense?
Say it again, please.
Yeah, let me change my microphone actually here.
Okay, you're real light.
Let me change it in Discord as well. All right, there. You should probably be able to hear me better, both in Discord and on the streams. So, yeah, I did starting a bunch of video editing. That's actually when we were streaming yesterday. I was working on that to some degree, and part of it was doing this, where we had been doing our D&D walkthroughs, and sometimes when I'm putting together a board or disassembling it, we're doing it on the stream. So after we had done this was the Crystal Keep Part 1 walkthrough. So we had finished this scenario, and then I brought the board down that was the first half of it, and I did the walkthrough of it, and then I took it apart. And so what I did was I did a high-speed reverse footage of me taking it apart, and it's basically me putting it together.
Nice.
So it was like, hey, actually this works well. And I don't think I would guess at all that this wasn't just me originally putting it together. Although it goes a lot quicker. That's the only thing that would make me think. I was like, man, I did that in record time. It takes me a lot longer to put it together than it does to tear it down. But yes, anyways, we got this in the background.
You should have had a glass of water to the side that you accidentally spilled at some point. So.
Yeah. That would be cool to have something that a magic moment.
The thing where you dump out the box of bits at first, so at the end it's the all the bits jumping back into the box.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of my favorite video editing things, is to figure out how to do something in reverse. When we were kids and they would show us, the movies in school, they would often show them in reverse. And I can remember thinking that was the pinnacle of hilarity, was watching like Laurel Hardy in reverse.
Hardy films. My brothers actually, they had like a 13th birthday parties. Had friends over and watched, was it 35 millimeter films.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That you'd like borrow from the library, and you'd rent a projector, and,
Nice.
we had an old film screen, and they had Laurel and Hardy and Abbott and Costello, I think, and watch them in reverse. It was funnier than watching them forwards.
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff was really, really good. Yeah, my motor purrs. Thanks for asking. But yeah, so we're almost at, I think, the end of it here. So I was like, oh, cool. So I got that. Then what I've been working on also is a recap and going through and taking our D&D session and seeing what happens if I can just edit out the spaces and consolidate the description down. And it's roughly something like this.
JB Kent Klaus is on YouTube.
Right, so I want to do another dungeon deep dive where I take a close examination of the board
Doesn't
before I
realize
put it
I'm on
away.
here, but
It's a
he
lot of work
knows
to
I'm
put
a
these together,
red-headed
so I'm trying to figure out
racist. My
how.
saddest admission. I just had this conversation with my neighbors.
Kent's my old buddy from way back. That's a guy I used to work with at the library when my favorite job. So I can't see your chat unless you're on Twitch. If you want me to be able to see your chat, hop on Twitch, and I'm going to post that. I think if we do, can somebody do me a favor? Could you do me a favor and post the Twitch information in the YouTube chat? But yes, he's definitely he doesn't cotton to redheads the way God intended. So he's in good standing with his Lord. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So let me see if I can do this again here. If I hit play. Show. So this was the live stream that we had done. So I want to do another dungeon deep dive where I take a close examination of the board before I put it away. It's a lot of work to put these together, so I'm trying to figure out how I can kind of consolidate some of those activities, and I'm thinking maybe if I can make the boards in a way that here we can drop them down in the studio and do a video review of them, then maybe I can end up trimming some of that and making it a non-live stream video as well that I can share on the tubes. Propstet Runehammer, Hankrin Furnell, his artwork for illustrative purposes and for making it. So we are about 40 seconds into this, and the amount of edits it took to get to that is baffling. Because it's like, that's probably 12 edits at least. Which it's really kind of crazy. But so far... Easy, especially on the picture-in-picture. So I like to have a starting area for the group. A little place that when you kind of start the adventure, generally they can get their bearings. So here we have the 3 main players and their 3 pets. So we have Dart here. We have Furion, who's more of kind of like a druidy type. Dart's kind of a roguey type. And Shasta is just Shasta. Shasta's pet is the genie. Dart's pet is the cat. And Furion's pet is the mini treant. So we have Dart with her homemade shield. It's actually something that she looted that players have affixed to her mini. Got Shasta back here. Got Furion. Furion's pet, like Treant. Shasta has a little genie. Dart has a little kitty cat. And notable NPCs that are traveling with them. This is Thorg, who they actually freed from their first session in the bar. And he was the one that they met up with in the sewers. And then Reyna, who is one of their kin and kind of the whole reason that they are here doing what they're doing. They've been having dreams separately. The players all had dreams of Reyna. And in their quest to find her, they ended up chancing upon each other. They've learned that they all kind of represent different fundamentals of magic, and the Supernal Regency, who is the local main force. Anybody with red, generally red in armor, is usually Supernal Regency and their limited experience. They've been hunting magic users, and so these sort of orphans have found their way to each other. And knowing that magic is not always welcome, that's kind of where they find themselves in their adventures. So, yeah, so Randy, that's what I got through yesterday, was making the reverse footage, downloading this, making the reverse footage, and starting the edits on the first half. And I got about 2.5 minutes in. But hopefully the flow of that seemed decent enough that you think it could merit continuing. You can just say, yeah, it looked great.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with the links for some reason. I was trying to get them that information for Twitch and YouTube, and it's being difficult for someone.
Okay, understood. I appreciate
that. Give me
that.
errors.
Yeah, so that's what we're working on with our editing. So I'm going to head back to the workstation. And I think it's just at Studio Johnny Q on the Instagrams. Let me see here.
It keeps redacting the link and saying that there's a problem. It's weird. I'll just do it this way.
I thought we had a command for our socials too. I don't think I have it because on Twitch I don't want to tell you how to be on Twitch, so that's probably why. That makes sense. Yeah, them goddamn redheads, though, I tell you. But, it's the thing is that I think that I don't know. Let me take a look here and get back to our workstation. Wrong button. Sorry about that. Alright, as we return to our workstation, and let me switch my microphones back to there. Unmute, and let me change it in Discord as well, Randy. Alright, voice and video. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. There we go. Randy, I'm moving back to the desk, so let me know if the audio doesn't improve for you. How'd you get in, my good man? All right. And again, thanks for everybody who's given us your time and attention today, man. We really appreciate your eyeballs and your ear holes. Let me do this. Roll that down. There we go, so I can see what let me see what you're working with.
Ken said he's got to run right now, but he'll
right on.
He'll get Twitch later and use it for next session.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate you hopping on, brother.
I wonder if there's a setting within YouTube that is redacting that link. The link from being able to be posted.
I may have it set that links can't be posted in YouTube chat, since we don't necessarily moderate it as closely.
Yeah, try to avoid spammers and stuff.
Exactly. So it's probably just not letting you do that. I might be able to add you as a moderator. I know how to do that better in Twitch than I do on YouTube. But it is good that we're on the YouTube because it stores a permanent copy there, where Twitch would only keep it for a couple weeks. So that's one of the reasons why we do that. So did you get to see any of that stuff that I was working on, Randy, or is that all pretty much lost to you?
Not directly. I was seeing it out of the corner of my eye.
So that's just what we're working on, was just basically taking it out and editing out all the silence and trying to see if it was workable. And it seems to be, so I think that's what we're going to try to do, and we'll try to see if we can... The videos we'll be working on will just be taking some of the recaps that we have. And then there's two places that we can use that, right? We can use it on YouTube, but then I'm also looking at, I think, putting it on IGTV, because that's where we have our largest following, is on Instagram. So,
cool. Okay, so with that was an edited version of...
I think it was a Friday stream that I had done. So I've done it, like a lot of times we'll do our DM recap on a Thursday, right? And so we did a recap of the last session, I think, of the Crystal Caverns, or the Crystal Keep. And so we had done all that, and you were on the stream with me, and I was describing it to you. Then on Friday, we took down that board Then on Friday, I had brought back the first half of that board and had done a recreation, but you weren't on that stream, or if you were on chat maybe, but not on Discord. So it was just me doing a reenactment of it, like we normally do, and it was me editing out all the gaps in it, and
Gotcha.
to see if it's a workable. Seems like it can be workable to do that, and especially to not have to do a voiceover, because that'll add a lot of work if I can't use the audio from the original recording. So that's something that became quickly. So I thought what we can try to do is that we can have a video that will be a recap of our D&D session with our intricate D&D boards, and then when I take down the boards, I can film that, and maybe also even putting them together. I might start putting them together down here as well, so that we'll have footage of that, and we can do high speed.
I don't know why or what it's from, or I have this idea in my head that there's something out there that can help edit out silences in videos.
There is,
like
but the problem
automatically try to identify silences and mark those so you can remove them.
There is, yeah. I definitely need to take a look at that, because I know that I think I'm using DaVinci Resolve. It's a free video editing software, and but I'm pretty certain that there is. But the thing is that I don't know what the video is that goes along with that gap. So I need to take the gaps out of the audio. But I got it. Like a lot of times, what I'll do is, I don't know if I can even show this to you. I'll try to talk louder so I don't have to switch the mics. But if I go back here and I have DaVinci Resolve up here, so take a look here. So you can see here, this is all the edits I've done so far. And this is all the stuff that needs to be edited still. So that's the end of that. And then this is
that's a lot.
And then this is the reverse footage. So yesterday, and I spent a lot of time. I spent maybe a good 6 hours of editing time, if not more. And I was able to find the video, download the video, review it. The video is a couple hours, so identify the chunk of where I was doing the teardown, creating it, making it high speed, cutting out the spaces that it didn't need to be, doing reverse footage of that, and then taking the stuff that was the recap and doing all the audio edits. But a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll highlight, like if you zoom in here, then you can see where your spaces are, and so you can go through and you use your razor blade tool, and I have the video and the audio unlinked, and so you can trim out your space, and you can either delete or do a ripple delete. A ripple delete will bring everything behind it up to so you don't have a gap, but you don't want that, so you just want to delete the selected, and so you go through here and leave a little bit of space at the end of things, so even without listening to it, I know I can just cut out these spaces, delete selected. So then I'll take these and then bunch these up so that the audio, doesn't have all that pause in between it. But I might not want those same edits to occur where the video is. So, because I don't want the video to keep cutting editing, so I might just put all the video footage at the end of the clip, or the beginning of the clip might be what I use, depending on things. So you kind of have to look through here to see where something visually really needs to correlate with the audio and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So yesterday was the first day, and I think it was good because, as I said, I was trying to attack, some a mental funk, and so I thought the best way to do it was to try to target what I really, to feel is a missing component that I want to try to add, and that's, highlighting our strongest offerings, which I think are our D&D boards, and figuring out a way to, as we talked before, doubling down on that and reusing some of our current footage. But anyways. That is the life currently of here in the Nerd Studios. All right, so I need to figure out on here the grain that I want to, and I don't know how to do that. Let me see here. Well, I guess if I get it wrong, I can always flip it over. So, let's create a little bit more space for ourselves.
An idea for effects, D&D effects, using real fire and miniature explosions, using firecrackers and matches.
I hope this conversation isn't Exhibit A in a court of law.
Obviously, it would require use of proper materials and awareness of space on the board.
And pyrotechnicians. And layers and layers of safety protocols. This is the prelude to someone explaining how their face got burned off with fireworks. Hey, why is half your face missing? You know, it's a funny story. You know D&D, right? Isn't that the Devil's Game? Yeah, that's the one.
I saw a YouTube video. Let me see if I can find it. It's really good. A guy built the Death Star out of cardboard.
Sweet.
And did a really good job. I think he said he spent like 16 hours or so on it. I forget, on the build.
Well, that's nothing.
It's all in layers, and in between the different layers, he put various fireworks and things and matches and stuff. So
he built it and then blew it up?
Yep.
That is dope.
It made for a nice video.
Yeah.
There were various levels of like fire and explosions, and ending in one giant explosion that just blew the whole thing apart.
They tested back in the day. They used to do Norman and the other guy. I can't remember his name. Just escaped me at the moment. Would do Lego builds, and they were doing a competition of who could do it first, complete the Death Star or the Star Destroyer, like the huge Star Destroyer. And then they would do different things. Like one of them, they made their arms like C-3PO to see. That was the thing. It was like their arms were like this. They had taped like rulers so they couldn't bend their arms, so they had to do the whole Lego session like that. But once they got done, and spoilers, hashtag spoilers, this almost pains me to say, but yeah, they took the Death Star and threw it into the Star Destroyer and threw it into the Death Star, the Lego. And so the Legos just... There's a TV show hosted by Will Arnett that's called like Lego Champion or something like that, where they have a bunch of weird people that they have building Legos, and they do stuff like that where they'll, at the end they'll blow it up. It's like the theme is, either your thing's going to get dropped, or it's going to get hit with a bat, or it's going to get exploded, and it was random which one it was, but you knew it going in, and so yeah, they have. It's kind of
there's a TV show about taxidermists making bizarre taxidermy things. I think that must be the nerd equivalent to that show. The show you're talking about must be the nerd equivalent to the weird taxidermy show.
That sounds about right. That one show that we used to talk about, where I think there's the shop in New York where it's called Obscura, right? Mm-hmm. And they would do odd taxidermies and things with like skeletons and things like that. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever make it to?
No, I never. No, I never got to. No, I never got that far up town. Gotcha. I don't think. I think that's.
I always hoped to be able to go to it when we were there, but
yeah, but there was lots of things. There's always like you put 10 things on a list and you hope you can get through 3 of them.
I mean, it's hard for me not to just spend the entire trip in Central Park.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can just. I still try to think about that when me and Carrie went. We had to put all those miles in, and we went from MoMA to Central Park to Times Square I think like to 30 Rock or Rockefeller Plaza, and then back in one day. And gosh, that's a lot. That's a lot of walking. All right. So I should measure these out. What was the spacing that we did on these? I think it was a 1/4 inch. Yeah, roughly 1/4 inch. So, how do I want to measure? Yeah, this will work. Yeah, this will work. This will work. This will work. These boots were made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. You know, that's a song that they played when they had the people in Waco, and they were using the psychological torture on them. It was really famous that was the song, one of the songs that they played. They kept playing. Nancy Sinatra. These boots are made for walking. I don't know how that ended up in a shootout, Randy. It's baffling. There's a show that they have on Netflix now called Waco, and I just can't bring myself to watch it because. Right. So we're making our lines for our T-square here. Randy, if you can say something funny right now, I need you. Because I can't do much. I can't do much at the moment. What's did you have anything good that you did over the weekend, brother? I know.
No,
had fun playing some. Oh, I have something I can bring up. But do go ahead.
Yeah, I have a bunch of work stuff that's been causing some kerfuffles.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Taking up a bit of my time there.
On the weekend.
Just in general right now, but yeah.
Yeah. Tater yesterday said something that I thought was funny. He said that sometimes playing Rocket League feels like brushing with your non-dominant hand. And it's like, yeah, there is some times where some of the matches that we've had here, because I feel like we're kind of floating in between this tier 1, tier 2 sort of place right now in our skill level. It's like some of the matches that we play, it's like those people can just really stifle what you're trying to do. And then some people you play, you feel like you're a god.
Yeah, I think that's a good analogy for how I feel when I'm playing. Is that I don't think I'm playing with the wrong hand here.
Yeah. I've been having a lot of fun, though. I hope you're having fun, because it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
A lot of fun. And even, like, I can handle, like, people being better than me, right? And just being that good where they can kind of stifle you. You know, I mean, I don't want to play all night like that, but I'm up for learning how to be a better player, and, you know, and then that's the route that you have to go. And if you can get people like that aren't jerks about it, you know, and you certainly can. Of course, and it helps that I'm not reading any of her chat, and we get Tater to do that. Like he said, you don't need to worry your little head about that. You let me take care of the mean nasty people.
All I see them posting. I think I have chats turned on. I just have the I just have quick chats on.
And I highly recommend that. So
just from that, it's the most the oddest thing is people will spam, like, you know,
what a save.
Yeah.
After they score.
So is that just somebody trying to be a dick, or is that them, you know, trying to get in your head, or is that just whatever?
And sometimes too, people will say it like, but not mean it. I don't think to be a jerk, but yeah, I think that, you know.
Yeah.
And as we
get nice people who, like, I always try to. I re-enabled it so that I could be like, oh, you know, nice shot. If I see a nice shot, and try to say, yeah we're not dick. We're good people. We're trying to have fun and promote a good atmosphere and stuff. And
Well, even if you don't have to turn
will,
it, you don't have to turn on seeing theirs. I think from them to be able to see what you say. It just mutes them. It doesn't mute. Like you could still say good game and they would see it. They just not able. You just wouldn't see a reply. But continue. I'm not trying to.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Mister there said he feels like he's getting worse at Rocket League. I think that's a part of it too, but I think that's part of getting better is that you at some point you feel like you're getting worse. But
we talked about this.
That growing pains in a way.
Yeah.
But you can tell, like we had we shut them out, and we had like 6-0 or something. We had a 6-0 shutout. And there's been other points where it's been like, when we first started, this probably would have been where we were at. And now we've obviously progressed, whether we realize it or not.
Oh yeah,
and I know progressed. You guys had played that maybe the second time we all played together. I can't remember exactly. You guys had gotten a chance to play together over the weekend a bit, and I had to miss that session. And when I came back in, it was evident to me that you guys had made improvements in your gameplay.
Nice.
And you guys didn't seem to notice it at all, but to me it was obvious.
That's funny, yeah. Because me and Tater were progressing similarly alongside each other. It didn't feel like we were moving. Maybe.
Yeah, I think there's something to that.
Yeah,
I agree. Colonel said, I noticed it all right.
He said, I noticed when I could start farting in people's faces in celebration.
That is funny when you can pop up on your back wheels during the
that's been our
and wiggle your wheels.
Yeah, because you can do different.
Wiggle.
Yeah, when they have when the team that wins, your car can like all the cars are sitting there. I guess I don't need this, but all the cars are sitting there, and you can like make them jump and do things. So like some people will make them jump and put their butt to you and make the exhaust come out. So it's like they're farting in your face, but you can do different things. And so we were trying to coordinate something. So we've been trying to coordinate it. So when we do it, that we hop up and land on our back of our car and we wiggle our wheels all together. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. And it is funny every time. Yeah, it's like a little team coordinated dance.
We have a team dance.
Yeah. Yeah. We have our own Super Bowl shuffle.
I've managed it a few times. I'm still trying to. I thought at one point it had been said that you can do that and then use your thruster to like fly up a bit and still maintain that position. That's my next progression level to see if that's possible.
Say that again. What is it that you're aiming to try to do?
To pop up on the back wheels and then wiggle your wheels and then use your thruster to try to hop up and down basically in that position.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that we were doing in the training session. All of us was to in a training session just put unlimited boost on, and that is weird. Trying to get you can put your car basically on your back and just make them go up and down when you have unlimited boost, and it's like not hard to do at all as long as you just orient them right up. And so he's just moving, or you'll get it to where you're moving a little bit forward, and you can just move along, and it's pretty crazy. I am not well skilled in it at all. I feel like I'm always over jumping the ball, I think is the problem that I have most, it seems.
Yeah. I've timing issues. I'm still working on like judging the distance and height and when it's bouncing and coming toward me, exactly how that's going to play out.
I think some of that is just too like it seems to me that there's those nipples on the ball, right? The lighty nipples on the ball, and it seems to me that they have some sort of effect on it, on its rolls.
Really? I don't know.
And so that's why you get like where six people will just miss the ball, and it's like, how does 6 people miss the ball? And yet sometimes people are just like nailing it out of the air, and I think it's just because it's got some sort of odd sort of thing.
What I have noticed is potentially a lag issue where a ball, but it may just be a perspective issue, where in my gameplay the ball will look like it's in a certain position, but when I see the replay from somebody else's perspective, or from an overall perspective, it looks different. it looks slightly different, like the ball's in slightly different place. And like I said, that could just be a perspective issue, that it appears that it's in a different place, or it could be a lag issue potentially.
I noticed it more when I played.
Because we have
Good.
we have experienced other issues that have been seemingly lag issues, like a little rubber banding or whatever, where suddenly you'll be facing the opposite direction, have no idea why, or the ball will react very strangely that didn't make any sense occasionally. So those seem to be lag issues.
Yeah. And I've played it on different, systems too. Like I had a lot more rubber banding that would happen, I think, when I played it on the Switch. But there has been some issues here where it's like, I think I was in the ball. Nipples, like on men, they serve no purpose. They are superfluous, my friend. But you can milk anything with nipples. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was gonna say. I got distracted by nipple talk. But yeah, sometimes it's felt like I was just in the middle of the ball, and then it was like nothing happened, and I think it was just some rubber banding issues, because I think it like predicts where the ball is going to be, and then sometimes when it has to correct it, that's when you see that rubber banding occur. But let's see here. Rocket League. The drop shot is interesting. I noticed that
it's a totally different gameplay.
Yeah, it's fun to be able to.
Has to be totally different.
It's fun to be able to try to use your skill set in a different way, and have to adopt new strategies. Because it's like I noticed that when we play, that a lot of times when we're playing like the AI, that they'll have a player that just sits on one side and doesn't even want to. He'll hardly even move. Like he guards one half, while the other player, I guess, tries to bring it over.
Basically a dedicated goaltender.
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, you'll always win.
A dedicated defense guy, yeah.
On your side, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it does seem like, especially on 3-on-3, it's nice to have somebody that's, have two people kind of chasing the ball, or one person chasing the ball. I guess it's sort of the same thing. Yeah, one person chasing the ball, one guy looking to support the chaser, and then one person looking to defend. So, in a lot of ways, pretty similar, maybe.
I still use my thruster too much, and then don't have it when I need it.
Yeah, me too.
And then what did you call it? Overcompensate too, but overcommit, and then end up like spinning out. We'll say spinning out, or my car flips and it's facing the wrong direction, and it's stalled, so I can't do anything. Like I have to get resituated and regain momentum, and by that time it's too late.
Yeah,
I've missed the goal, missed the save or whatever.
Yeah, there was that one night when me and Tater were playing that you weren't able to join us, and he was like, let's try this, that like when you go in and you make your shot or you do your thing, if it doesn't work, come back out, right? And then I come in and try to do it, and you kind of keep swapping that way. And that really, if you can get to that kind of place, there's something to that, because we all see it where you've got like 5 people that none of them have any momentum at all, and they're all just flailing around the ball, and it looks like, dead fish or fish out of water, right? Whereas somebody that comes, the goaltender then comes from the other side and just knocks it in, easy peasy, right? It's that kind of thing. It's like, if you can have somebody that has momentum, and I'm finding that, I'm finding myself in situations where it's like, I'm just flailing around because I don't have any momentum, and if I would take my initial chance, if it doesn't work, if I try to get out and at least get some momentum, then I think there's a benefit there, it seems.
Yeah, I've been one of the things that he posted, well, both of them really, but one in particular, was showing how one person is in control of going after the ball. You have like player 1, 2, and 3, and then player 1 is going after the ball. Player 2 is supporting player 1. So player 1 will make a shot or whatever, and if he misses, then player 2 immediately comes up and replaces him, and then player 1 either takes player's 3 place in the goalie, and player 3 comes forward and becomes player number 2, supporting player number 1, the new player number 1. or
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That sort of rotation.
Yeah.
You've always got some way. Okay, you take your shot, and then the next person replaces you, and then the other person becomes the backup. I've been trying to do that with like I'll make a shot, or I'll try to set the ball up or whatever, and then I run back because it's so easy to lose track and have too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yes. As Tater likes to say, Master Mustard.
Yeah, that you get in each other's way a bit, or hesitate because you're worried about getting in somebody's way, and then you both miss the ball because you both do the same thing, hesitating. So is to take that shot, do what you can real quick, and then zoom back to the goal, to our goal, to protect it and gather more power-ups on the way while you're going back to our goal.
Yeah.
And then you turn around real quick and you get a glimpse of, okay, the ball is still on that court. Good. Let me see if there's a spot for me to zoom back up there and try to make a hit again.
Yeah, I'm doing something similar, except for what I'll do is if it's a situation where, depending on where I think the ball is going, if I think the ball is going back into my half, then I'll just rush back to the goal. But if I don't think that's the case, then I'll just rush back to the half rink line and try to get my boost there and evaluate from there if it's a place that I should jump back in or if I need to jump towards the defense. But yeah, very similar.
Also, I think for me at least the case is still that I'm probably very much still chasing the ball as opposed to thinking about, okay, where is the goal going to be? Let me get in position. Yeah,
it's hard.
That's the next level of skill transition, I think, is ball control, and then fine ball control, and situational awareness, and not chasing the ball but positioning yourself appropriately. It's a big step forward.
Whoops. Huh.
And then drop ball is just totally different.
For some reason, my phone just started playing Jizz in My Pants.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I had my Pandora station on. It came up on my Pandora station for some reason, though. It just started playing. My phone just started playing. Jizz in My Pants. Jizz in My Pants. Jizz in My Pants.
Who is that? I forget.
Lonely Island. It's Lonely Island.
What is it?
Lonely Island.
Okay.
Dick in a Box, people.
Yeah. Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. Jizz in my pants, jizz in my pants. Threw it on the ground. Welcome to the real world, jackass. Happy birthday to the ground. But, alright, so we're working on our planks. Really bad about not rotating off the ball after you whiff. It's hard, right? Because you just think, oh, just one more. If I just do that one more little thing, I might be able to. One of the things that I really struggled with as a newer player is, I think it's good, and you have this, a willingness to get in goal. That's good, right? You got to get in goal, and when you're in goal, you can't be timid. If you're timid in goal, they'll rock you. You got to be aggressive in goal, right? You got to punch that ball out. And that's the thing I think with rotating is that if you punch the ball out, like if an NHL goaltender was as aggressive as you need to be in Rocket League, I think he would always get scored on because he'd be so far out of the goal. But not if you had another player that came in and took his place behind the goal. And so that's the thing is you can be aggressive because somebody else will take your spot once you're out pulling for that. You don't have to worry like, oh, I'm so far out now I've left the goal open because somebody should be rotating in to fill that spot. But it would seem. All right, so here's a.
Plus, I think you have to be more aggressive a bit in that the goal is bigger in Rocket League than it is in it's easier for a goalie to cover the net in real life than it is in Rocket League.
Yeah, I just feel slow like a lot of times.
Because of the size differences.
I hate it like when you look in the replay and you're like, oh, I almost had that. And you're like, in the replay, it looks like he shot it. And then 3 seconds later, I jumped at it. No, it's slow-mo, so it's not exactly fair. But that's the way it feels. You're like, I wasn't close at that at all. It's like the ball was over my head before I even realized I needed to jump. But there again, I think anticipating things, and I'm trying to work on I think my defensive corner play. I think that's an area where I'm interested in being better. Because that's the part that you get killed, right? Isn't that seems like that's where teams can really, if somebody can control the corners, offensively or defensively, it seems like that's a huge part of it, a huge part.
Yeah, we need to get better at positioning offensively, positioning in the corner, and then turning that into a setup, getting that in. But also, I have a hard time with defensively. I'm always having problems in the defensive corner. It seems like no matter what I do, it ends up popping it out into center rink,
which is bad.
Which gives them a shot on our goal. Yeah. So it's like you're basically passing it to the opposing team, saying, "Hey, here you go. Make a shot on goal, please."
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to figure that out still, and I still have a lot of issue where I'm chasing the ball up the wall, which when you make that contact can be really good, but so often lately it seems like by the time I reach the ball on the wall, it has come off the wall enough that I no longer make contact with it. So it's just a wasted maneuver. So I got to stop doing that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm working on, that same thing, right? Like, the thing is, too, sometimes I'm getting to the point as, I'm not smart enough to not do it beforehand, but once I've done it, I realize that was stupid. You hit it, and it's like sometimes just figuring out those angles where it's like I think it's going to put it one way and it doesn't. It just puts it in the. We had one of those games against one of those teams that was doing a really good job of stifling us, and it was like everything I do to this ball puts it in a worse position. Every time I'm touching the ball, I'm putting it in a spot that was worse than it was from the Expanse. I'm going to pick it up again. I see that they're coming out with a new season. Oh, and speaking of TV, that TV show that I keep talking about, it's subtitled, so you got to be willing to read, but goddamn, it's worth it. Or you could listen to the audio. I guess I think there is an audio translation version, the English translation, but I couldn't use that because the English captions and the English audio don't match. That drives me nuts. But The Dark, that time travel series, The Dark, is coming out with a third season. So
I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah, so highly recommend. I think I'm going to watch it again, just because it's.
I don't know why, but for some reason I just have not been able to watch any movies or like Netflix shows lately for a while now. I'm just stuck on all I want to do is watch YouTube videos. There's a lot of good YouTube video content out there, but I mean I just have zero interest. I tried a couple times and scrolled through my list and be like, oh yeah, I want to watch that, but didn't feel like it right then.
It is amazing how you can have, but hell, I have hundreds and hundreds of albums, right? And it's just and sometimes it feels like I don't have any music I want to listen to. It's like, how could that be? And it's the same thing when I look at my Netflix playlist. It's like, well, yeah, but not right now. I'm interested in this, but just not right now. What is that perfect thing that I want to watch right now? I've been watching.
Let's get caught up real quick on Mustard's.
Oh, yeah. So I was talking about the quarters, and he was saying doors and corners.
Kid, always fix your doors and corners. And then all he wants to do is play with himself, just like in Rocket League, in a corner.
Well, I did miss that one. Thank you. All I want to do is I just want to keep smacking my ball in the corner by myself. Fat. What do you think that our greatest strength has been as a team?
We're good at supporting each other, I think, and enjoying the process, and not.
I agree with that.
Not
we're not rules humping.
Seriously, not. Yeah, exactly. And I think we are progressing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
that's the most annoying part for me is just the self aspect of it, where you feel like you're not getting better. Like you feel like you keep doing the same stupid thing, like you said, over and over again. Like, why do I keep making that same mistake? Why haven't I improved in this area? And I'm sure that we are. It
like you're saying,
especially during the same game or the same series of games where you're like, ugh, why can't I get this down? Why can't I improve this? And it just takes, like, I'll have to practice some ball handling in the practice mode and stuff or something. But
I think
I don't get mad at you guys or like that we lose a match or anything like that. It's just self-aggravation about like, ugh, keep making mistakes or anything.
Yeah, when you feel like it's tough when you feel like you're not contributing. That's like said that one where they just kept feeling like they were stifling, and it's like I can't do anything right. I just feel like I'm not doing anything right. Everything I'm doing is helping them. But it was like because they were so good at being able to being able to anticipate where the ball is going to be, right? And that's a big part of it. You can really get into somebody's way if you can anticipate, and and at point it's like you're talking about like not chasing the ball, right? This is kind of the first part of that, not being where the ball is, but where the ball is going to be, and then the next part of that is realizing that when that happens, what's likely going to happen, and it's like right now, I'm at the Royal We. Tater says we need to work on our shot consistency. I wish I had a better shot. I like my ability to pass, but I want to be better at learning to shoot. Not just a ball. Yeah, exactly. Player awareness is huge, and I think that's kind of where we're getting better at that. We're understanding that. I think our vision's probably starting to grow, but I do like that. I agree with you that Tater Shadows, that I do think that is one of the things that I've appreciated the most. And I feel like we have a good awareness of each other. I think that we play well with each other. And it's easy to get all bunched up, but we tend to naturally do good jobs, so like you say, supporting each other and working. Because it's like I've played with enough people on the internet where it's like, let's say that this is the rink, right? So this is the goal we're shooting at. This is the goal that the enemy's shooting at, right? So one of the things that it's hard because you just want to hit the ball when you're a first player, right? When you're a new player, you just want to hit the ball. So like if you've got the balls here, the goal's here, and you're coming in, so you've got a nice shot on it, and one of your teammates is coming the opposite way and knocks your shot out just because the only thing they were doing was just because they wanted to hit the ball. That is infuriating. But we don't do that. You were really good about doing that. It seems like holding up, and sometimes even to a fault, like you've mentioned, right? Like there's been times where nobody touches the ball because we're trying to be too respectful. And that's where I think understanding, what we're trying to do will help prevent that to some degree. But I do think that has been a strength for us, is that we have been playing very well and have been having a lot of fun with it as well. There's been a lot of humor, a lot of laughter. I don't know that I've ever laughed at people's names so much. Now I'm Darren.
Funny takes on other people's names. Colonel Mustard said, "Watch the players and the ball, not just the ball all the time. Assume that everyone is going to hit the ball and not whiff."
I'm having a hard time with that.
I think we do too.
I'm having a hard time
good at rotating. Go ahead.
It's so hard when you. Yeah. I agree with Colonel Mustard here on this. But I'm having a hard time with because whiffing is such a big part. And do I count on them hitting it, or do I count on them whiffing, or do I have to wait to figure it out? Because if you waited to figure out, it's too late, right? So, yeah, I think you gotta hope for the best.
I don't think you can assume they're going to whiff. That doesn't. I can't see where that's going to serve you well.
Yeah.
You assume that they're going to whiff. I don't know. I guess it depends on how you look at it.
But I mean, there's times too where if a person comes in from a certain angle, are they actually going to be able to make that angle? You got to judge sometimes. Does it look like they're going to hit it or not? And
ideally, you would be able to process both. Be like, okay, if he hits it, it's probably going to go this way, and if he doesn't hit it, then I need to be prepared for that and where it's going to be in that case.
But those actions could be two mutually varying, diametrically opposed.
Yeah, but hopefully you're in a situation to be able to process both of what your conclusions are.
But I've had those moments like where I'm chasing, like I'm in the defensive end and I'm coming up into their offensive corner, right? And it's like, do I punch in on it or do I not? Is this the place where I should punch in? Is this the place I'm not? And that's kind of an area that I'm learning right now, is trying to be better at deciding when and not to pinch in, because you really do. I mean, it's really important figuring out the proper times to pinch in. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. You guys have been a great group to play with. I hope we can get more people to play. I hope we can get Papa to keep playing. Get some other people to join.
As long as he doesn't preach. Tired of his preaching.
Papa, don't preach. Why are you in trouble, Deep? So the baby, you thinking about keeping the baby? I'm gonna keep my baby. Oh.
There's something else about Rocket League. I can't remember what it was.
The people's names have been fun. Tater says things that just make me laugh. Some of the things he'll say about players' names. It's been particularly. We've had.
I love it. Every time Tater says, "Oh, I'm not good at making shots," and it's like, dude, you're a number one goal scorer. What are you talking about? If that looks, I'm so sad right now.
so says our striker, our number one striker is. I suck. Yeah, I'm noticing that you can. Especially, like you can see on the face-offs when we play the drop shot, Tater's quickly adjusting to flying. He's starting to learn how to fly. I believe I can fly. I believe that I can touch the sky. I dream about it every night and day.
Oh, I know what I was saying.
That is what I want to say. Go ahead.
You're talking about watching the players, not just the ball. And I wonder... There's been a couple instances where I've stayed in goal, and let you guys pursue the ball down on the opposing team side, and it almost sometimes feels like it throws the other team off a bit. Like they are for some reason worried or distracted by me being down there, and there's been a couple instances. Of that sort of feeling where it's like, am I distracting them by being here or by doing this? And sometimes you'll get that if you go in their goal, sometimes that can seem like it's distracting them, or calling them off the ball a bit and things like that.
I've been definitely working on that. When he showed that thing about, if you're going by the goaltender, destroy him. Why wouldn't you? And it's just like, because that's dickish. No, it's the game. It's the ability it grants you. Destroy them. And so it's just like, so I've been working a lot more at knocking the goaltenders out. And because even just that, right? I mean, you can just bump them, and that can be enough to take him out of being able to make a save.
I do that if we're... if we're losing or it's an evenly matched game. If we get to the point where we're outscoring them so much, it's like...
I don't do that. No, I'm not. No.
Because it's just not fun for the other person who it's happening to.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bury... Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another thing that's worked well is I think our sensibilities of players are pretty evenly matched about our level of where we want to be... annoying or aggressive or understanding. But I wouldn't try to if it was 6-0, I'm not going in and destroying their goaltender. But at the same time, I'm generally not trying to stop scoring either, because that's condescending.
Yeah, you still want to play.
Yeah.
But I'll play less, a bit less aggressively, like that. Like I'm not going to try to demo anybody and stuff if they're already way down in the score and stuff. But I'll still try to get goals and defend.
Right. I might try something a little different with this. I think I might try to use a razor blade to try to score.
I'm not trying to demoralize anybody.
Yeah. I'm not trying to. Well, that's not true. Sometimes I am trying to demoralize people if I think they deserve it. I believe if you act
Yeah,
like an
there
asshole,
is
you might.
something to be said for putting an asshole in its place.
Yeah,
Like,
if you act like
if
an
somebody
asshole,
is
sometimes
being
you
a
need to be
jerk,
treated like an
then
asshole.
and you can put them in their place, then that's gratifying.
Yeah, agreed. Randy, wow, we're past our 2 hours here. I didn't realize that.
Bam,
Yeah, that went quick.
just like that.
Just like that. Let me take a quick look here on our list here. I think that we hit the items that we wanted to for the most part. Yeah.
Tater's been good a lot of times at he's made a lot of shots where he's been in goal and saved the goal and then gotten either a long shot or been able to ride it up, escort the ball from our goal down to their goal and get a shot. It's been bravo, sir, bravo.
Yeah, he has done a really good job at punching some of those shots, and if he punches it, he can do a good job of being able to follow it and put it in. I'm not. I can punch it down and make a good pass, but I'm having a hard time. I'm not as well suited as being able to just punch it in directly. And one of the things I've been happy with my own play is I've had some really fun saves. There's been some saves. Making a good save in that game is, I think, more fun than making goals. Making an epic save is just like, and it's like when you hear everybody like, oh, because they know it was already a goal, and then they were like, what? That is a great feeling. I love that. Good goaltending is a lot of fun. A lot of fun. A good smack. But yeah, you're right. He has done some really good. And then some of those games too, where if a team is getting really good, is doing well against you, and then they can have, I think, a tendency to overcommit, and then that makes themselves vulnerable to those types of shots. You know what I mean? Because you're getting it past their defense because they're overcommitting, that's a problem
They're
that we do.
overconfident.
Yeah, or just over aggressive. And because that's where, I think that's an area where we get scored on a lot by some teams is when all three of us are, say, in the top quarter of the rink, and we don't have that guy back at half rink. And sometimes you need to have everybody down there, but I think that we're better off. You're talking about, are you throwing the people off by being in the goal? And I think that if you look at the rank, say this is the rank, this is the half line, that if the action's down here, you don't want somebody down here because this guy here at the half rank can punch in those balls, and it's a lot easier for you to do it from the half rank than it is from you to do it all the way at the other end. But having somebody that's a dedicated goaltender, I've played against some teams that had dedicated goaltenders, and they can be challenging, but it's really hard for your offensive team if they don't have that third guy who's able to punch in and try to help keep it in. Because if you have the third guy here instead of in goal, when you have the guy that, like in that video he was showing, that the guy who's making a play on the ball, he goes in, you got another guy that's kind of cycling back in case he misses his play. But you've got this other guy that on defense that if you've got, they've both punched it out. They're both down here in the corner, and they've just punched it out to here. The defense has. This guy can come over here and keep it in play for the two players that are down there, right? And then still kind of loop back and be defensive. Whereas if you don't have that, then you've got these two people. They make an easy shot. They've got all this space now that they can try to do something with. And then it makes it harder for the guy who is, I think, the dedicated goaltender. But it's my current thoughts on it. They're likely to change.
I think I've been pretty good at aggressively interfering with the other players, trying to get them off the ball, whatever. Trying to interfere with their shot lineup and stuff, and keeping the ball in their zone, hopefully.
Yeah, you can do a lot without the ball, right? That is a strength that really needs. It's like, just because you don't have the ball, don't mean that there isn't something for you to do. And that's the things like we're talking about, like knocking the goaltender out. And it is really neat that, like, if you're not in a good position to do something on the ball, a lot of times you're in a good position to do something on the player that is about to do something on the ball. And if it could just be knocking them out, it could be getting in front of them, it could be getting behind the ball, And those are I think some of the most fun moments is when we're in that top corner, when we're strong on our corner play, and you're doing that where they're trying to get it out, and you just keep interfering with them and smacking their car so they can't get a clean hit, and those battles, the good corner battles, are a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
That is when it's the most fun, is when it's closely matched and you guys are just like nose to nose in the pit, as it were, like right up with the ball, nose to nose, trying to get that advantage on it. Like get your adrenaline going a bit.
where you're really trying to work for it, right? And you got it down on that end, and you're trying, and you're putting it in, you're putting the work in. Oh, you're making this. Oh, wait a minute, they got it up. That's okay. Nope, we got it back. Oh, well, that was a good hit.
Yeah.
The defender came in and punched it back in, and that's the thing too. Is like when it's going good, that's awesome. And it was like some of those games where it was like I feel like I'm pointing the wrong direction the whole time. Because I'm like, oh, the ball's here. No, they punched it out. So now I'm turning to go, but now it's punched the other way. So now it was like I felt like I was pointed the wrong direction like the entire game. But how are you time wise? We probably should go ahead and I guess wrap it up here. We've got through our topics today.
I got a lot of work I have to do.
Yeah, you said you had a bunch of work. So anything else before we leave the good people? Again, thanks everybody who hopped in, and a lot of names stopped in the chat today. We had another viewer, Casey Alamon. I don't think I've recognized that. Casey Alamon. Electrical Longboard. And Ventcan Lurks Need Him. Prankcher. And there's probably a couple more there that I'm not seeing. But thanks for everybody for being on. If you ain't hit those buttons that matter, please do so. The follows and the notifications. Please like, share, and subscribe. Tell your mother. Tell your brother. Even tell your secret lover. Studio Johnny Q, where we take that sweet, sweet nerd stuff and we try to make it a little bit sweeter. Randy, any parting love that you wish to impart upon our good peoples before we...
Just stay safe and healthy and take care of yourselves and one another. Spread the love.
That sounds good. Spread the love. And with that, we will leave you with the doctor's promise. Oh, and tomorrow's session we'll work on putting together our board again, and then we'll have D&D play at night, and so that'll be a big part of tomorrow's. We'll continue to work on the tiles, and then go from that. So, but we'll leave you with the doctor's promise of never cowardly, never cruel, never give up, and never give in. Thanks everybody. We will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Let's hear some of that funky outro music. Oh.